Hello and welcome to the Feedback Show. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
I hope everyone had a lovely Christmas. We did, didn't we,
We
Dad?
certainly did. We had a great Christmas day all together, didn't we?
Uh huh.
I've never laughed so much
It
for a
was great
long,
fun.
long time. That was really, really great fun. That was. So we had a great time. Yeah, yeah. And yesterday was good too. We enjoyed the other half of the family.
Yes.
We had to split it up this year, didn't we?
Yeah.
No, it was really good. Lovely Christmas, and as I said, I echo your sentiments there. I hope everybody did, and is having because it's still in the UK. It's still a bank holiday here, isn't it?
Yes.
Well,
Well,
when we're
this.
recording not when it goes out. I mean, it'll go out a few days after this, but when we're recording this, we're still actually
Mm,
in the bank holiday
that's right.
mood.
That's right. So it's nice to have, apart from today, nice to have a bit of a rest and break for a couple of days at least.
Yeah,
And then we're going to be back. Well, are back from today. Really, I'm working, so we're back in full swing with a new project coming soon as well. So people can take all their lovely presents and pencils and paper that I'm sure they've all received for
yes.
Christmas and get cracking with some of our new projects that are coming out.
Well, I've not actually done any work as such today, unlike you. I've been a bit lazy, but what I did do is set up two brand new projects to be done. So,
Oh,
and they are going to wow factors, both of them. Uh,
excellent.
and also, both of them are in answer to previous customers' requests.
Wow, lucky.
So I'm listening to you, folks. That's what I want you to know.
Everyone will be wondering, is it mine? Or is it?
Oh, well, this is the suspense side of it, Steve. We don't give it all away, do we? They'll find out. So when they see it, they think, "Oh yes, I remember that. Oh yes."
Excellent. So this is the feedback show where members send in their artwork and we offer our advice on particular areas that they found challenging. It's a service that's only available to members of our website. So if you want to find out more, go to colinbradleyart.com. And there's a page on there called Sign Up, and you can find out all about membership. And this is one of the services that is thrown in. So let's start with the first picture. This comes from Jonathan. Jonathan says, I've been drawing with graphite pencils for over a year. This is my first pastel pencil drawing slash painting using the approach I've learned from you through your portrait videos. It is about 4 by 6 inches, drawn freehand on beige coloured, can't, I don't know if that's Canson, pastel
I think
paper,
I think it is Canson.
mm,
Yeah.
with Faber pastel pencils, plus soft pastel sticks for the brightest highlights. I realise that the intense overhead light source, midday sunlight, in the reference photo is less than ideal, but it's the only shot available of this person. Also, I found to my dismay that the camera interprets the white and lightest tan areas of my picture as very yellow, quite different from seeing this picture in person. I'm specifically interested in how to create high intensity, bright areas. However, all advice for this 70-year-old beginner is most welcome with my gratitude. Best regards, Jonathan.
Well, I think you've done a marvellous job there, Jonathan. Really, from a freehand point of view, it's great. I would stress, though, that although you may think, oh, I've got to really, I'm an artist, so therefore I've got to do freehand. This is not necessarily the case because a lot of artists, I've mentioned this before, do use a drawing aid just to get them proportions right. And in this case, it would have helped you had you done that. I'm going to pick up a couple of things here that would illustrate my point there. And you then can decide either you do or you don't do it. I'm not, I'm in admiration for anybody like yourself who can actually draw like that. And obviously, you've done quite a lot of pencil drawing, so you're used to it. But one of the things that I would pick up on this is if you had used a proportioning aid, square drawing and other there's other areas you could uh, go into there. Um, you would have put the ears in the right place. Now, the right ear is higher than the left. Now, this I know some people have that, but this chappie hasn't. He's got his ears square on. You see what I mean? If you look at the
Oh,
right ear, you'll
yes,
see
this
it's a
one,
little
yeah.
higher. Now, that's the kind of thing that when you get to this stage and you're looking at it, you think, oh my goodness me, why didn't I see that? And the reason you didn't see that is because you drew it freehand. You didn't really have any help. Now, had you asked my advice, I'd have said, well, use a square drawing system just to get the proportions, even if it's just the outline drawing, you know, then it would have helped you a lot. There's small things like that. I think it's great once you've got the outline drawing and you've got the proportions and you're happy with them, then you can go into the picture and knowing that you're as accurate as you can be.
Mm.
Okay, and the other small thing there is the nose is slightly out. If you look at the nose on the picture, you'll see it's straight. If you put a line down that, you'll see that line goes straight down from the between the eyebrows down to the tip of the nose, or more or less. I mean, we've all got little twists and turns.
Mm.
But if you look at the other side, your picture does the other side. It goes the wrong way, really. That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
So again, small things. These can be easily altered, though. The pastel pencils is a great medium for this. If I was with you, alongside you, I could make both of those adjustments, no problem at all. And you would see the magic of the pastel pencils in doing so. Addressing your other problem, I mean, there are quite a few little things that I'm sure you'd like me to talk about, but we really haven't got the time to go through the whole lot. But I think that the hairline is another thing that people have a problem with. It's chalk and cheese. You've got the forehead and you've got the hair. And you've got a line between the two, or rather, should I say, where one meets the other is too definite. Now, in a portrait, you have to have a shadow there. If you look at my pictures that I've done on the site, and look at that specifically with all of them, every picture, every portrait I've done, and you'll see that shadow, and it's quite important because if you don't have the shadow, it tends to look like a wig.
Okay.
A wig would look like that, to be honest, if you put it on. Have you ever seen these judges? Not the judges. Oh, I think they have them too. But
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
when they put the wigs on, and they look so silly. I mean, it looks silly anyway, I know, but that's what you get. It's the kind of thing you get. You get it hitting the skin, and there's no shadow, where naturally there is one on all people's hairs. I hope that helps you. It's certainly, there are small things that I'm sure you will find as you go on and you use the feedback show. I hope we see more portraits. We don't see enough of them, to be honest. And I'm doing more portraits. You'll be happy to know in the new year there's at least one on the chocks coming up. So there's going to be more. And we're also thinking, Steve and I, of doing some small sections of picture. We've done them before with the Victorian lady and the hair and the nose and the eye features we did. So we have done them before, and we plan to do that again, specifically to help the portrait people.
Okay. Excellent. Brilliant. All right. Thanks, Jonathan, for sending that in. Next one is June. June sent in two of her lovely pictures here. Dear Colin and Steve, thank you very much for the feedback. I think it's so very important to be able to have expert feedback such as this. It gives confidence and also takes us out of our own little world where we think everything is perfect when actually it's not. Like everything else, we have to know the right and wrong way to learn properly. Once again, thank you both so much. I find that when I'm drawing animals, every time is a challenge. My big worry is that when it is finished, that it looks real. I know that is so hard to do. Every one of Colin's animals look real, so I know that I am on the right track to learn how to achieve this. I feel very lucky to have someone that is so very talented to learn from. I hope to achieve this someday, even in a little way.
Oh, you will. No question about it. But you've got to stick to it. Sometimes it's natural. People have a natural ability, which I'm fortunate to have had, because when I first started, I didn't have the problems that some of you folks have. However, it's still a learning game, and you can still learn. The pastel pencil and our tuition is the very best way of doing it. And of course, then you've got the added advantage of the feedback show, because I can then point a few little things out that you can make the adjustments to. Your tiger is brilliant, I've got to say. And everybody looking at that would say, what are you talking about, June? That is fabulous. Well, you know it's not. And I can tell you that although it is, the things you could have done to improve it. First of all, the background is very difficult to do. We all know that. Grass is very difficult to do. We all know that. Doing an impressionism is difficult. We all know that. And that particular, my little tiger cub has got all of them in there. So, gosh, you don't have a lot of chance, do you? But what you do really in a situation like this is keep it more simplistic. And what I would have done there, instead of the orangey background, I would have done a background that's not unlike the one of mine, but without all the colour in it. You can just put the colours, you don't have to make it look like mine. The orange tended to overpower your picture a bit because there's a lot of orange or that reddy ochre in the tiger. And it's now echoed in the background. So while you hear me say many times you've got to pick up from the background, it doesn't mean to say you've got to actually make it that colour. So that's what I would have done. A couple of small things too. Where you have the grass at the back, it tends to follow the line of the tiger as well, if you see what I mean, on both sides. So rather than do that, I would have made it just a little bit less following that line, made it just a bit more, a bit like mine.
A bit more random?
Yes, random, not following the line of the tiger. So that would help. And also the grasses in the foreground could have had just a bit more depth to it. Because once again, we've got a lovely tiger that's got plenty of punch in it when you look at the dark colours, and you've done brilliantly with that. But the foreground, understandably, because it is a hard thing to do, so you really do need a little bit more depth, even a little bit more dark green, maybe a little bit of ochre in there would have just lifted it a little bit. But well done on the tiger, really good. As far as Scotney Castle is concerned, there's a lot there that you will gradually understand. One of the things I do compliment you on is the trees at the back. I think they are lovely. The only thing about when you look at the picture now, you can, and the water is great too. I must say that before I forget. But if you look at the building, you've got those little white dots all over the building. You can see them as you're looking at them now. Now, if you look at mine, you can say, well, I can sort of see it, but you've got to really look to see those light areas. So those are the sort of things that you can pick up on. If you're looking at my picture and looking at your picture, you can say, I'll just disguise those a little bit. So had you done so, it would have just been that little touch better. I can see why you did it, but it's kind of lost a little bit there. But very good. Stick with this, June. You're going to eventually crack all of these. But I've got to tell you that you like the animals, and great, stick to them. But keep having a go at the landscapes, because that will help you with the animals eventually, because you'll have crossovers. You'll have areas in there you think, oh, I did that. Maybe I can try that next time. Because if you look at the grasses that you have in the picture, it's very similar to the grasses you have on your tiger, So if you'd learned to do that, if you'd learned and picked up some of the techniques I have with my grasses and my foliage, that would have helped you with the tiger's background.
I see. Yeah, how it's transferable. Yeah.
It's this crossover. And so you're doing the right thing, not just sticking to animals, but having a go at that landscape, which I've got to tell you is the harder of the two.
Excellent. Oh, good advice there, Dad.
Well, I hope it's helped.
Thanks, June. Next one, a couple of pictures here from Jill. Hi, Stephen Colin. Taking your advice, RE backgrounds, and would like your opinion on my first attempt. Also, I've speeded up from taking almost a week to 2 days. Still far too long, but I think I know why it takes me so long. I do fuss with it a lot and probably worry too much about it. I tried to get close to the reference picture, but realised this is my interpretation, so not meant to be identical. The photo wasn't that clear in the first place, and I can see the eye colour isn't quite right. Any help or advice would be appreciated, as always. My painting could have been more black and wondered if I could have improved that. Many thanks, Jill.
Uh, well, first of all, let's deal with the backgrounds. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And you've taken it on board, and look how much better it is with the background. So, yes, full marks for that. As far as the interpretation is concerned, you've done really well again. There's nothing I can say. You've done very well. I would have looked at that pussy and seen that. I was going to say unattractive. Well, I shouldn't say that because it's not really. It's part of the animal, isn't it? It's a characteristic of the animal.
Yeah.
But that white stands out too much.
Yeah.
And what you've done is made it stand out just a bit more. So what I would have done, had that in mind, I would have put the white in because you've got to, especially if it's a commission. If it wasn't a commission, I wouldn't put it in at all. But as it was probably a commission, then you've got to put it in because that's part of the animal. But I would subdue it a bit more than that. I would have put it in, but made it less obvious, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I can't show you what I mean, but you'll have to take my word that would have been just a little bit better.
Okay.
By accentuating it, which you've done, I'm sure the people who have received that are absolutely thrilled to bits with it. Now, as far as the blackness is concerned, I assume that you scanned this in. If it's a photograph, that could be misleading for us because that might be blacker than it looks on the picture on the television. But you can make it blacker than that. As far as time is concerned, I think you may have got that a bit wrong. I would take as long as I need to with a picture. We've got to think differently, I think, not say how long it should take and, gosh, I've taken too long on it. Yes, if you're fussing with it and you keep going over the same ground, you are taking too long because that's not necessary. But I would say I would take as long as it needs to get it right. I wouldn't worry about the 2 days bit. And blackness, well, that should come. The reason you haven't got it black enough is either you're not using black as you should, because a lot of artists and in other mediums restrict the use of black. They don't like using it. Pastel pencils, I'm afraid you have to, because you haven't got any other darkening agent that works. If you try any of the others, the Payne's grey or the dark sepia, it won't work. It doesn't get that. You can't get intensity. So black is very important. So that is one thing I feel if it was me now, I would put black on and you would see it immediately. Now you'd have to probably temper it a bit. You'd have to sort of, be a bit sparing with it to start with until you got a bit more confidence. But that's the only reason you're...
So is it the application then of the black?
Yeah, well, yes, you've got to. Well, the black, that. I mean, Jill knows now. She's seen plenty of pictures of mine. She'll know how I put that on. If you put too much background on, if you put too much grey on, then the black doesn't go on very well. It could be that you've used the light grey where the black is.
Right.
And if you use the light grey where the black is, you're not going to get it dark enough. So that because think about it, you're putting all those colours on top of those lighter colours. Therefore, the lighter colours mix with the dark colours. So you get a poor reception.
I understand. So, yeah.
You've got to try it and see. You've got to go back to the drawing board, keep going back, keep trying it, and you'll get there eventually. I mean, in the second animal, you've done really well, and you've again made the black a little darker. It certainly looks it. I know this. If it's a photograph, it might be a photograph rather than a scanned image, which again can throw it out a bit. But again, good background. What a difference it makes when you do that.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely has improved them for sure. Excellent. Thanks, Jill. Nice work. Next one's from Bob. Bob sent in a picture of the miniature schnauzer. Bob says, my concern is that I don't feel like I did something right with the front whiskers. I can't get it to be very white. Colin, in his online lessons, seems to have nice white whiskers. No matter how much I use the 101 white, it comes out grey when I stroke it. Do you think that I have too much underlayment of the black and the greys that is causing this? Also, the fur on the body doesn't look nearly as good as Colin's.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what you're doing. You're putting it on. You're putting too much dark on, and you can't get the light back on. The light should be there in the first place. If you look at my picture, you'll see that it's there. The light, the white, is there to start with, and then you're strengthening the white or darkening the white.
Mm.
Whereas what you've done there is gone. It don't matter how much. The only way you could get over what you've done is to actually take it off either with a putty rubber.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
That would work if you dabbed that with a putty rubber and took some of that dark color off.
Mm.
But and then you can put the white back on top of it. That would work. And also, there's a lot of color in mine, and you haven't got a lot of color in yours. So I didn't just use the whites; I used the ochres too. But
Mm.
again, it's practice, Steve. The more you do, the better you're at it. If you look at the top, the ears and the eyes, and you've done really well. It's not until you got to that bit, but in the front and just under the nose, particularly, is where it kind of went wrong on you. But all these things, I deliberately did that schnauzer for that reason. I knew how hard that was going to be,
Mm.
but I thought if I can do something like that, then people can see how it's done, and they can, you know, have a go at it themselves.
Mm.
Which is so it's proved its point. And as far as the fur is concerned, that's all practice. It's just simply a question. If you look at the back of the animal, you'll see that it's light and dark.
Mm.
And you haven't really. You've just got yours one colour,
It's a
whereas mine.
real it's a real overall lesson, that Schnauzer, isn't it? Just looking at it now,
Yeah,
like your shading, your lightness, you've got real light to real dark. At the back, you've got the fur, you got the ochres and the pinks and things like that going into the white.
mm.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I spent a long time looking at pictures and working them out knowing that they're going to be invaluable to class members. So they'll have a go at them. Maybe they'll succeed, maybe they won't, but at least they can see uh, the techniques I use and adapt them to themselves. And again, the background's a little bit dark. I think I would have lightened it up just a little bit, like mine is. You've gone a little bit dark with that. With a dark animal like that, unless it sets a mood, and sometimes, as you know, I want to set a mood, you could do with it a bit lighter. Had it been more or less the same colour all over as the back of where the back of the head and to the right of the animal,
Mm.
it would have probably looked a bit better. It would have been stood out a little bit more, as
Mm.
mine does.
Mm. Okay. Good advice. Okay, thanks, Bob. I hope that helps. Okay, next one's from Jan. He says, please find enclosed my fifth picture, which I've made after your instruction. I have to say I've really enjoyed it, and even if there are some areas where I'm not 100% happy with, for the first time trying intermediate level, I am satisfied with the result. About the challenges, that's not easy to say. The complete picture was a challenge. In fact, I felt some areas due to repeating that things were a bit easier than in the beginning. The sky, for example, was far away from Colin's, but this time it was less harder to get at least an acceptable result.
Mm.
Painting more details was a challenge, and was quite happy to have such good instructions to get at least with small effort a reasonable result. And I loved how the snow got a structure and effect by following the tips. Kind regards, Jan.
Good. Oh well, that's great. You're on the right track, aren't you? Obviously, you feel it yourself, and it certainly proves the pudding. You can see it there. You can see the skies are really hard. It's always underestimate the sky. People make it look easy. All artists make it look easy, but it isn't easy to do.
Mm.
And the more you get used to it, the more you do, the better you're going to be at it. Because you're on the way. There's no question about that. You've got the light blue on the base and the dark blue at the top. You've done that really well. Um, so well done on that. Characters, they're hard. They're hard anyway. You could have put a bit of shadow, or a bit more shadow, should I say, with the characters, because that gives them dimension. Then, if you look at the characters and the horse and cart particularly, you've got to even in no sunlight, you're always going to get a light source. And it's always a good idea to pay attention to that light source. We've paid attention to it on the building. If you look at the church, you'll see that it's got a dark side. So the animals and all the carriage and the people would also have that. So you do need to put that in. And the carriage too could be a little stronger. I'd use a little bit more of the 181, darkening his coat and so on. It would have matched the horse a bit better. The horse is dark, and you've done a good job of that, but it kind of is pulling almost a carriage that looks a bit like a ghost. It hasn't got that essence that and
I
depth.
see what you mean.
If you look at all the characters, they've all got quite a lot of depth to them. Just need a little bit more depth, and you can still do that if it hasn't gone already. But you can still put that in. It will go on top of what you've got there. But really good. Again, this is another really good example of people coming along, going and trying something like that, and from humble beginnings, and you suddenly faced with a picture like that, you think, oh my goodness, how am I going to cope with it? But you've done very well.
It's only the 5th picture as well. It's
amazing. Yeah,
really good. Fantastic. Well done. This is one from a new member of ours, Becky. Becky says she's done a bit of your kind of picture here, where she's taken multiple references,
absolutely,
and combined them. They are quintessentially winter birds here, as our robins go south. Cardinals, I think these are called. I think I got that name right.
Right.
They are nearly always done in pine boughs. I'm not quite sure how to say that word. I don't think we have those. With snow. Anyway, and that is so striking that I wanted to do something different yet pay homage to the traditional. This is what I came up with. I had never seen an embossed hand water pump before. The background evolved, as you can tell from the 3 trees on the right, but I've come to like it, and the experience of making them come out was terrifying but nice in the end, I think. Colin can give me his overall impression, please, if he'd like to. Thanks again, Becky.
Certainly. I think it's delightful. It's a delightful picture, and you've done really well. Love the sky, love the trees, love it all. I would have made the pump just a little stronger, though. You've got the birds stronger, so the pump needed to be a bit stronger, a bit more depth to it, and that would have really lifted it too. And the only thing I would pick up on, this is something, when you have a composite picture, well, even if you don't, you could still get the same thing happening. You get areas that need adjustment, and there's one here that stands out. As soon as I saw the picture, I saw it straight away. I thought, I must point this out to you. If you look at the yellow bird, primarily, and where the top of the head's got a little peak at the top of the head, that's it. And if you move over just a fraction to the right, there's another peak. Now that peak looks as though and the other peak looks as though they're kind of linked together. And this is something that can happen when you're not really quite conversant with the composition side of it. If it was me, what I would have done is I would have run the line from the pump, that line of snow and that dark area of rock or earth or bank or whatever, from the pump. And I would have run it along. No, a bit higher than that, Steve. But level with the beak. Go where the beak is.
Yeah.
Okay? Now line that, and I would have lined that up so that it come out. It doesn't have to be straight. It could be a wiggly line or whatever you want, but it comes out to get rid of those peaks that are above it. Yeah, I would have got rid of both of those, and I would have made it line. Then the bird would have set against the snow really well.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
That's a small thing, and you're the artist, Becky. You would look at it and think, yeah, I see how I could do that. I could have dropped it down, or you can always. It's an adjustment that you can make easily, and that would have made a big difference to that. It would have helped you an awful lot. So you've got small things like that. See, when you've got a background and you're putting a background in, you've got to remember that the background is a support act for the subjects in the front. In other words, the 2 birds and the pump. everything is supporting it.
Mm.
So it mustn't, under no circumstances, must it interfere with it.
Mm.
And what's happening there is it is slightly doing that. It's the same with the other bird, the tail. You've put the line of the tree or the dark trees alongside the tail. You see what I mean? Again, you've fallen into a little trap where it should be broken up a bit.
But that would make the bird stand out more.
Yes, it would have done. It's just purely a matter of confusing. People has to look at that and think, where's the feathers on the back ending and where does it start? Oh, I see. No, that shouldn't happen. It should be automatic. You see that
Mm.
exactly as you want it to be seen. So it's just a tiny bit of confusion. I'm sure Becky appreciates that. But
Mm.
it's not easy when you're doing composite pictures.
Yeah, well, you must find this all the time. You're
Oh,
challenged
all
with
the
it
time.
because you're taking references from all over the show and combining them together. So,
Yes, the one I've actually got at the moment, Steve, just interesting enough, I won't mention the subject, but it's one that I set up just before Christmas, and I'm going to start it probably tomorrow. I've got 5 references,
oh
and
wow,
and all it is one single animal head and neck. 5 references to it,
blimey.
but I'm building up. I usually never get as many as that, but I've got 5, and people will see that right at the beginning of the video. I'm going to show them all the references that I use, and mainly to say, no way, folks, can I give you all these references because Steve just can't do it. You can't put 5 references into a picture,
Mm.
and you wouldn't be able to follow me anyway because I'm going to switch around. But so this is all for the future, and when you see it, you'll say, "Gosh, God, how did you manage that?" But you'll see how I manage it because I go to do when I finish the picture. You'll see that all those references are useful. They've all been put to really good use.
Mm.
Anyway, good fun.
Fantastic, excellent. Well done, Becky. Last one's from Greg. Greg says, "Hi, Colin. Hi, would Colin have a chance to comment on this painting? The chest area was the most challenging, and I couldn't get Colin's look on the branch, so I put my own spin on it."
Oh, I think you've done very well there. I tell you what we'll do, Steve. Shall we do a little bit of cropping? Our favourite. I love doing this little cropping. What you got to do from the top, go down a bit. The top of the picture, go down a little bit. Yep, that's it. That's it. Now to the left-hand side, come in, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming until you get to just before that little break. There, no, a bit less. That's it. Perfect. Now at the bottom, come up. Come up, keep coming here. Keep coming. I want to keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Now I want you to go quite a long way up there. Okay, stop there. Stop there. Now go from the other side and come in to a bit more, a bit more. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, stop. Okay, now let's have a look at that picture. How much nicer is that? First of all, the bird is the most important part of that. And that branch looks pretty good, doesn't it? I
Mm.
think you'll agree. It looked a little bit silly before, to be honest. It was a little spindly. But by cutting it in like I've done there and you've done there, it looks great. And I can't comment on it anymore. It's great. You've done a great job with the bird. It looks great. So when you frame it, Greg, that's how you frame it. And you'll almost certainly sell it if you want to sell it. Background is superb. Very well done. Um, you see that I put a little bit of foliage down on the bottom there. Now, you don't have to do that. But
Mm.
the reason I did do that, it just fills a hole, really, basically. That's why I did it. Just a bit of interest.
Mm.
And a little bit of dark up on the opposite corner would have also worked a little bit better. But don't worry, I don't do this if you're not confident to do it because I think the picture is great. You've done a lovely job of it. I appreciate what you're saying about the chest area. It is hard, but I think you've done really well there,
Yeah,
considering how hard it is,
yeah, me too.
don't you?
Yeah,
There's
excellent.
very little, there's nothing wrong with that. So well done, Greg. You've got a great picture. Good one to end with that.
Fantastic. Oh, excellent. Okay, excellent. Thanks everyone for sending your pictures in. I hope that's advice has been helpful. I hope other people watching this has found that those tips and advice helpful also. That's why we do it. So if you have found it useful and you've enjoyed this show, then hit the thumbs up button. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, hit the like button. And if you're not a member, then you can go to colinbradleyart.com and find out more about becoming a member and having this feature available to you. And yeah, brilliant. So I guess we'll be back next week with another podcast.
Yes.
New Year's
in the
podcast.
New year. In the new year. Yes, in the new year. We'll see you next year, folks.
Yes, absolutely. So keep your pictures coming in. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another feedback show and back next week with a podcast.
Well, Happy New Year to everyone. A Happy New Year. And 2017 is going to be a cracker, I can promise you.
Yeah, we're going to start off with a bang as well.
We are.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Bye for now.